Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody's doing all right, having fun, trying to stay safe out there, uh, you know, during times that are. Today, I kind of just wanted to give you an overview, discuss this vehicle right here. This is my 2005 Chevy Tahoe. This was my daily for about 2 years up until I bought the Subaru. Now it's become kind of my backup slash transport vehicle for any larger items I can't fit into the Subaru. So today, like I said, I just kind of want to give you an overview, kind of talk about the truck, what my experiences have been with it, if it's a viable option for somebody that's looking for a daily driver or potentially a winter beater or just a winter vehicle, because that's potentially what this car is going to be for me this winter, as I'm moving up to a little bit snowier area than I typically, had to deal with. And the Subaru, while I do have winter tires for it, I don't know if it's going to handle deep snow or anything. So, like I said, today is kind of talking about, how I got the truck, what I've, had to deal with living with the truck, and then what I'm planning to do with it in the future. So, that's what we're going for, and hope you enjoy. Okay, so I'm hoping you guys can hear me. There's probably going to be a little bit of road and tire noise, but I'm hoping you're pointing in the right direction ultimately. But I guess we can just kind of start off with how I picked up this truck. About 2.5 years ago now, I had two cars. I had my 97 Lincoln Mark 8, which was my daily driver. That was a great car, by the way. If you see one of those come for sale, at least test drive it. I had that as my daily driver, and I had my first first project car in general, which is a 71 MG Midget that was more Bondo than rust and more rust than good metal. That car was trash, but nonetheless, that was what I had, and ultimately I realized that car was a losing investment and wasn't worth the time I was putting into it, so I managed to get rid of it. And simultaneously, whenever I got rid of that, this was my dad's daily driver, and he was looking to get rid of it because he'd upgraded to a newer truck, something with less miles and less upcoming issues, and it had actually already gone through my little brother and little sister as their first car, and it was really just sitting around at that point. It wasn't doing a whole lot. So my dad hit me up and he was like, I'm looking to get rid of this thing. You just got rid of the MG. Do you want it at all, or do you want to, just wait for that local, do you want to take it on? Do you want to buy it? Because I'd expressed to him, many times prior that, I really like this truck. It's been basically the only car I've known my dad to drive, because he picked this up when I was about 9 years old. I remember what he had beforehand, but this is the one I kind of, associate most with that. And I told him, yeah, because ultimately I knew the history of the vehicle. This thing is technically, he wasn't the original owner. It was like had by some company for about a year or so before he purchased it. But we were basically the only owners of the car. And I know all the maintenance, all the history on it, and the lack thereof, with it. So I knew pretty well what I was getting into, what I should look out for and everything. So I bought it, and ultimately, it wasn't in the greatest shape looking at it. I mean, if I've got any pictures I can put up, I'll throw them up now. It's seen some wear and tear through a couple different ventures. I think altogether, my little brother and sister probably hit about 7 or 8 different things with this truck, be that other parked vehicles or the stray lamp post. They managed to run into it. So the body on this thing is not in great shape. There's rust in the rockers. There was interior stains. Like the first week that I had it, I did a full clean out, disinfect everything, just because it was a mess. I actually found animal bones in it. And they weren't like chicken bones. I'm talking like something like that. But nonetheless, I spent a good amount of time cleaning up the truck, trying to get it to a nice drivable condition. But it really didn't need any mechanical sorting, aside from the fact that it just had an oil pressure sensor on it that had just gone out. So the oil pressure read at 80 psi the whole time from startup to when you turned it off. I think it was about a $30 sensor, fixed it in 20 minutes, and off I went. But ultimately, since I purchased it, it's been a really good truck to me. I haven't had haven't had any surprises come up while I've been owning it as far as any kind of maintenance items or work items that had to do with it. Now, that's not to say that I haven't actually spent some money to get it cleaned up and fix a few things that were, that were due for repair. This thing had some pretty tired front suspension in it. It needed tie rods, ball joints, all that stuff up in the front end. Just because it had never been replaced, and by that point it was sitting at like 143,000 miles, I think, somewhere in there. Not 100% sure where it was that I bought it, but it was due. It was all 15-year-old stuff, and it had never been serviced prior, at least not that I can recall. It needed that, and then just kind of little general pick-me-ups here and there, small things like like the turn signal housings were full of water, so I replaced those with just some cheap ones off Amazon, just because I really didn't want to spend the money on it at this point, because the truck still, like I said, the truck still doesn't look that great. It needs a lot of work in a lot of different places, visually at least. But that needed sorting. And then I also put wheels and tires on, and that was actually fairly recent. That was at the start of this year, or a little bit closer to the start of this year. I wanted to put some cleaner wheels and tires. The originals, just like everything else on the truck, had started to see some wear just from never getting cleaned or treated as a nice car. It's got treated as a daily driver, something that kind of takes abuse and you run with it. But bought some slightly bigger wheels and tires, and cleaned them up for spent $100 on the wheels, like $20 on some paint, and then put new tires on it, and I'm really pleased with how those came out. I've got some pictures of that I'll throw in, just so you guys can kind of see the transformation that they made. But I mean, ultimately, the truck's really never cost me anything that I wasn't expecting or I didn't choose to put into it. And that's kind of been the theme of this truck for as long as I've known it being in our family. It's never had a surprise issue. Again, knock on wood for all of this stuff, but it's never thrown any surprises at us. Now, it definitely goes through gas, without question. It's a thirsty driver. Like I average between, if I'm doing about 50-50 highway city, I mean, maybe even a little bit more than that, probably like 70-30 highway city. I'm averaging about 15 miles to the gallon, as opposed to if I'm in the city, I mean, you're talking like 7, if that's all you do. So I mean, it's certainly never gonna save you any money at the pump, but it's a lot cheaper than buying, a brand new fuel efficient car. So ultimately, I've been extremely satisfied with the way this car has treated me, as a daily driver up until I bought the Subaru. Like I said, never threw any surprises at me, and didn't cost me anything other than what I wanted to put into it. So with that, in that respect, these things I think are really great vehicles to drive, as an everyday car. If you don't need to drive, 100 miles a day, or even, any longer distance drive, or if you don't care about spending money on gas, you really don't need to worry about too much. Now, there are some things that these cars are kind of upcoming issues for them, depending on how you choose to use the truck. Like, obviously, I mentioned there is rust in it. The door sills on these things always seem to rust out. So if that's something that bothers you, you're going to have to fix that. If it's not, ignore it. But there's also the transmission, which is the 4L60E, which for a lot of people who tried to make good power with the LS, because it does have an iron block LS. I mean, the people that take these out of junkyards and boost them to high hell, and if you leave the 4L60 alone, they typically don't like to stay together. And if you intend to use this as like a towing vehicle, if you start to push the limits of what it's rated for, you can see the same kind of issues coming out of the transmission. So that's something that you'd want to consider if you want to buy this to tow with. Just things to be kind of aware of. But ultimately, there hasn't been any issues or even, at least that I'm aware of, any major issues that don't come up with any kind of older vehicle or higher mileage vehicle that you should be considering to either daily drive or have as a backup car, as a beater, or anything like that. So in that sense, I'm really pleased with this, and I would be more than happy to keep driving it. The only reason that I bought another daily was because I wanted something that got better mileage and had less of kind of those wear item issues that are starting to crop up with anything this age. I want something I could kind of just hop in, go, not think about so much, and then kind kind of leave this one to start going under the knife and kind of get taken care of, since now it's kind of getting to that point where I can start doing that stuff with this truck. So, what kind of plans do I have for this specific truck going forward? There's a lot, for me, ultimately, because I do really like this truck. I've become emotionally attached to it just because it's been, no joke, part of my family for almost as long as, my siblings. But what I really want to do with this truck is I want to take it, kind of not take it away from what it always was and was built to be, which really was just a family SUV. It was intended to basically haul kids around, go through snow if you need to, or go through some light mud, not to do off-roading stuff with. And be able to handle basically whatever you throw at it and not cause an issue on the capability front. And I want to kind of keep it that way. Like, I have zero intentions of off-roading this thing as far as like a trail rig or anything like that. Just because it's, not that it's not my thing, but just that I don't want to do that with this. And what I want to do it, like I said, I want to keep this thing, it's kind of like a daily driver kind of thing. But I also want to bring it up to speed, kind of up to where modern vehicles are at with their own capabilities. This thing's got an iron 5.3 LS in it. It made 300 horsepower, like 330 torque from the factory. It's not making that now, I can guarantee you that. This motor's got 155,000 miles on it, but it's, like I said, it had a bit of a hard life getting there. One example, and probably the best example of the life this car has had before it got to me, was when my little brother was driving it as his daily driver. Now, he was only just doing in-town, small town stuff. He wasn't going hours and hours away driving this thing. It was all just short in-town trips. My brother started asking my dad, saying, "Hey, I need an oil change. Hey, I need to go get an oil change." Just kind of trying to push it off onto my dad, make it his responsibility to call and schedule the oil change. Oil change never came along. And this thing being an older motor, leaks. So at one point, the car was running, and then it stopped. Basically ran the motor out of oil. So they towed it to a mechanic, they pumped oil into it, tried starting it, opened right up, it's been running since. So, I don't know the extent of the damage that was done from that little adventure, but with every oil change, there's, a little gold shimmer and little bits of things that are present each time after you drain them. And not talking cutting into the filter, still just in the oil whenever you drain out the pan. So, that's nice, but like I said, I know this motor's not pumping out factory numbers, so what I want to do is I want to bring it up to speed and give it a motor, for one, that hasn't had issues like that, but make it a little bit more capable by modern standards. So what I'd like to do is find either a 6-liter LS, or if I can get my hands on a 6.2, that'd be even better. I want to get a bigger motor in here. I'd love to get an an aluminum block, just to save a little bit of weight on the front end. Try to get a little bit more mileage out of it. But regardless, get a bigger V8 in here. Spec out some kind of a camshaft for doing both just kind of normal everyday driving as well as for towing, because I do want this to still be used to tow. But in towing, what I want to do is also get a bigger, beefier transmission in here. There are people that do 6L or 4L80 swaps. This is a 4L60, people do 4L80 swaps. Basically a turbo 400 instead of a turbo 350. There's people that do that. Some write-ups online as far as doing it yourself. Not as much so I'd hope to see if I was going to tackle it on my own. But we'll see whenever we get there how that goes all in all. But I want to put either a 4L80 or 6L80 in here. Something that's, ultimately I'll probably try to squeeze for the 6L80. Pick up an extra 2 gears, hopefully get a little bit better mileage out of it that way too. And then going a little bit further back from the trans, rebuild all the differentials. Just because, at this point, I'd rather rebuild them all, have that all done and sorted, and never have to think about it again. Don't really plan on using four-wheel drive in this thing almost ever. I've only had to use it honestly once in the 2.5 years I've had it, and that was whenever I got plowed in by a snow plow. They just banked me in and I had to claw out of it with four-wheel drive. But that's been the only time I've ever needed it. But still want to redo the diffs. If I'm going to do all this work on the truck, redo the diffs. From there, basically just cosmetics going forward. Redo the outside, take care of all the rust, repaint it. Don't know if I'm still thinking this red color that's on the truck or if I want to go something a little bit different. But the whole truck, bodywork, top to bottom, get it cleaned up. Underside of the truck, same deal. Get it all clean, get it ready to go, get it looking good. Basically just future-proofing it for myself. Go through, I already did the front end on it as far as bushings and ball joints. Basically give that a once-over. If I needed to address anything, I'll do it then. Basically just trying to rust-proof that kind of stuff. And then interior. Just go through, redo the interior. A lot of this stuff, it's not like it's in really bad condition, but it is showing its age. There's stains in here left from it being used as a family vehicle for 15 years that I've never gotten to take care of. If you're looking, you can obviously see that there's no headliner in here. And that's another thing. I tried to fix it, and it worked for 3 days, and then it just all fell apart. So that's definitely on the agenda because I'm tired of looking at this weird fiberboard kind of looking stuff that I've got going on up here. But basically, if it wasn't obvious from what I just described, basically do a complete restoration on this vehicle. And it's definitely not going to be a cheap endeavor to take on. I've never sat down and actually tried to price this stuff out because a lot of the stuff I'm going to try to find for as reasonably priced as I can, namely like the motor and the trans and stuff like that, compared to what's already here and just fixing it. But my guess is it's going to cost somewhere to the tune of like $15,000, $20,000. For all of the hard points, motor, trans, diffs, and little things here that just are going to need replacing. And then the rest of the cost from there is probably just going to be like body work and paint. And I've done some of it before, and I'd love to do more. But I'm not great at kind of allotting costs for that yet. So, it's definitely going to be expensive, but I'm happy to, I said happy to do it. It's something that I'm willing to do because I did ultimately just get emotionally attached to this truck, and I don't want to give it up. I don't want to see it get even more dilapidated than it is. And that's not to say that it's still, destroyed as it sits right now. It's handled everything it's been thrown at it extremely well. It still drives nice, it still handles turns. I mean, it's a short wheelbase compared to like a Suburban. So it's not like it's horrible to drive in like city traffic or in some tight parking spaces. It's all very manageable. And I never dreamed of one of these. It just happened to be that this is what my dad bought whenever he needed a new truck coming out of his 99 Durango. And it just worked for his and our lifestyle. And I grew fond of that. So I know it's going to cost me a lot of money to do it the way that I want to have it done going forward. But I'm going to try to do as much of the work that I can to keep the costs down. And by extension, it'll also mean more to me having the truck done the way that I want it, me doing as much of the work that I can on it. So ultimately, should you, if you're looking at this kind of for an idea on if you think this truck's for you, if you should consider these, or if you should look for something else, I personally believe that you should look at these at least. Test drive a couple of them, see if it fits what you need out of a vehicle. It's certainly, while I do have some stuff back in here, just because I am in the process of moving, it fits some stuff. It's not incredible for if you need to put stuff inside something. Probably picking up like a long bed truck and a bed top will probably do better for you on that front. But it is very practical for what I need out of it. I haven't had any real issues with getting stuff into the back or transporting stuff, so I think it does well for that. It's reasonably good on gas by comparison to some other basically options in the market. And and it's a very sturdy feeling vehicle. Like, it doesn't feel like it's all over the road or like things are going to collapse. There's certainly rattles and stuff like that, but you can pick these trucks up for $2,000, $3,000 at this point, and it's you still get a fairly decent truck out of it for that kind of I think they're really good trucks. I would at least test drive them and take a look, you know, decide if it's right for what your lifestyle is. But I'm very fond of it, obviously. If saying I'm going to spend $20,000 on this one doesn't, you know, speak highly enough of it for you, I don't know what will. Nonetheless, I do hope you guys have enjoyed this video. You know, if you got any ideas as far as if this is a vehicle you want to look at going forward, you know, if you have any questions about it, if there's anything you want to know about this truck in particular, I'm more than happy to try to answer those questions for you. I do have some stuff that I want to do on this truck here fairly soon. One of them is upgrading the front brakes on it. That's actually why I bought bigger wheels and tires for it compared to what was on it. That's something I want to do. I haven't bought the parts yet for. I'm looking for a junkyard that's got some for cheap, and go from there on it. And there's other little things like just cosmetic stuff, just to hold me over till I go deep on it. But you know, I do thank you guys for watching. If you got questions, absolutely let me know. If you got comments, you know, suggestions, throw them my way in the comments section. Whatever you want to do. You know, please like and subscribe to the, you know, to the channel. It helps me out. Gives me an idea as far as what you guys want to see more of. You know, you can throw in notifications. I try to post whenever I can get videos out. Yeah. So ultimately, thank you. Stay safe out there. You know, we still have COVID going on until everybody gets vaccinated and everything. So, you know, stay safe. Have fun. You know, and take it easy. So, thank you.